guys, welcome to Coaching with Chris. Listen, do me a favor, refer your family, friends, and whoever you think they'd get great value to be able to listen to Coaching with Chris. And don't forget, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, kind of a new addition that we've added on. We've had great feedback on that. I got to tell you, I am excited to be bringing on our next guest. Kelly Yale is an icon in the mortgage industry, but she's got a new book, The Master Mortgage Marketing book, came out in January. If you haven't checked it out, we'll make sure we provide an Amazon link so you can go get your own copy. Kelly, happy Tuesday to you.
Happy Tuesday to you, Chris.
So tell me your journey into mortgage. It's one of my favorite questions always to ask is, how'd you get started in this crazy game?
Gosh, it's such a great question too, because it's actually pretty funny. I owned a large digital and social media marketing firm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and had a lot of really cool clients. And actually, one of the first people I spoke to, who was on the board of one of my clients, was Casey Crawford from Movement Mortgage, and it was back when he only had about 8 employees. And he's here in Charlotte, and I went to talk to him, and he was like, we could do really great things. And I was like, dude, who's going to work at a mortgage company? Flash forward a couple of years, I ended up taking a branch of Fairway here in Charlotte on as a customer, and was able to actually kind of look at it from a different perspective and saw how much opportunity there was if you just did what I did every day, which was align digital and social media marketing along with sort of traditional business development, and started that at the branch level, and then started creating essentially that platform inside and partnered with a CRM. And what we thought was, gosh, this is going to be a great tool for this branch. What it became was the tool by which Fairway scaled about $60 billion in about 6 years. We were the system of record for over 2,000 loan officers. And what that system did brilliantly, it was called Motivator, was it automated the best intentions of a loan officer. And by that, I mean every day a loan officer has to do a lot of different things, right? And they have a lot of tech platforms they can sign into, and they would love to be able to they're intentional to do all of the things that they need to do. But especially in years like 2018, 19, 20, there was so much business that we found that once we sort of were doing things on their behalf, that's really where we saw the most value. So built that for a number of years, and now I am working as a fractional CMO at a company called Octo Strategies, where we help mortgage companies be able to create systems like that within their own company.
So what you do today, do you help the small guy and the big guy, or just the big guy? What's your perfect customer?
It's such a great question. I'm actually asked this a lot, and there's what's smart and what I'm passionate about. So what's smart is to take enterprise level clients, right? And to really, align their tech stack and eliminate any sort of needless spending. A lot of people don't understand that several of the pieces of technology that they use overlap. And so a lot of times they're paying for things that they don't need to pay for. But my heart is putting that sort of integration together, but it's truly to build out the communication and the way that we sort of that we educate the consumer, the way that we tell them what's coming next, the way that we provide value, not today, but for always. But I have to be honest with you, some of my favorite customers are just really successful loan officers or branches who come on and say, gosh, I'd love this for myself. What does it look like to do this? Because in that situation, we're actually able to start with the foundation, which is the branding and, the messaging and the core values of that group, and then show them how once they have that foundation dialed in, that we can create amazing business development and scaling for their individual business. So on the one hand, enterprise is smart. On the other hand, I tend to be really passionate about really taking loan officers who are maybe doing $100 million and turning that into a whole different ballgame.
Right. Where do you see, I always say, make sure you have a cool success story loaded to be able to talk about. Give me a success story lately where you've helped a loan officer really grow and And like, walk me through how you did it.
Oh, for sure. It's interesting because 2024 has been such a strange year. I think we all sort of waited for through 23 for the break, like we just need the win. Then we came through 24, like, okay, well, rates are clearly going to drop at some point. And, it's been sort of a battle for people to feel like they really do have that win. One of our customers, and it's not a new customer, but it's a great example of how to pivot with the market. We've actually had a customer named Ashley McKenzie Sharp. She's like one of the top 20 loan officers in the country. She's been with us for 10 years. And we have built all of her systems, her brand, her marketing, but we constantly pivot. So for 2024, we have been able to, one, we've been working really with the concept of a new brand, but two, how do we become this massive resource for the real estate agents who right now are fearful and they don't know what's next? And we have just really doubled down on educating them, but also talking about strategies by which they can, navigate around the NAR ruling, to have as much information that isn't, that's really specific to them, and then showing them ways that they can develop their marketing and business development strategies the same way that we do it with Ashley's. So going in and doing sort of high level training, showing them, there are really simplified ways that you don't have to spend a lot of money on, that they can build their business with. In fact, I was just in Winston-Salem in front of her agents giving that exact presentation to them, where we are showing them things like Canva, simple video tools, ways that they can use ChatGPT and personalize that for their own marketing, and encouraging them to bring their own database into our environment where we're able to share those tools and that marketing with their database, thereby obviously helping Ashley, but certainly helping the real estate agents as well.
I'm so glad you talked about the word database. Like, I feel like loan officers are missing the mark in that databases. Uh, I always say the good CRM is the one you'll actually use, which most aren't even using a CRM, or they have one, it just sits on a shelf. Like, if you're speaking to all these loan officers today about starting to implement a database plan, what advice would you give them?
There is almost nothing that I can talk about more than what my literal job was at the end of running Motivator, because I had spent 7 years teaching the loan officers to build their databases and segment out their databases. So my job literally became, how do I manipulate data to provide opportunity to my loan officers? And people don't think such a thing could exist because they've just never lived in a world where it did. But I assure you, we served up 1,000 loans a week that loan officers couldn't even do by simply manipulating data. So when I have somebody who comes to me, and because people constantly ask me, what's the best CRM to use? Where should I start? How do I do this? The realities of building a database and how extraordinarily important it is cannot be overstated.
Mm.
People think of a database in terms of an Excel spreadsheet or whatever is in their CRM. And then they think that no matter how old that CRM data is, that that's still their database. And what I want to challenge everyone to do when it comes to this topic is think of it like this. Every single human being you ever encounter has the opportunity to become your customer, because almost every human being is going to buy or sell a home or need to refinance a home in the future. So when we think about building databases, we have to think about all of our friends, all of our neighbors, all of our family members, anyone you volunteer with, anyone you used to work with at another company, all the people who you spoke with about a loan who didn't move forward, all of the people who did move forward with their loan and close with you, and all of the agents, all of the financial advisors, all of the CPAs, all the divorce attorneys. Everyone, now imagine you had all of those names, emails, and phone numbers in your database. Then comes segmenting. These are all the people I
Hmm.
closed. These are all the people who I never closed. Here are all the new leads that I have. And each of those groups deserve their own journey with you. If you
Hmm.
had a what we refer to as a curated database, that means you have somebody like me who helps you segment it out and market to them. If you have a curated database, that will feed you forever. Because if you think about the way we
Right.
approach it, everyone could be a customer. Let's keep informing them how they can be. If nothing else, we learned in 2021, how many refinances did we do for our own realtor partners? So even they themselves buy houses, refinance houses, and have investment properties. So it's all in how we message to these groups, because a lot of loan officers want to always go and search, right? I always make this analogy. It's terrible, but I'm still going to do it, Chris. Ready? CRM companies think that if they have the shiniest lure or the newest bait, that they're going to give it, that they're going to take the loan officers fishing. The loan officers are going to be thrilled to pieces because they're going to have this new shiny bait and they're going to cast it in the water and they're going to get a fish. And that's not what loan officers want. Loan officers technically want someone under the water, putting the fish on the hook so that when they reel it in, they have something of value. They're actually not looking to
Right.
sit in front of a CRM and find the next deal. They just want the CRM to say, hey, based on the data, you took a loan application from this person in February. Their credit score was too low. We went ahead and put them on the credit improvement campaign. And we know based on all of the updates we have via data that that person's credit score is high enough now that you should go ahead and get them pre-approved, which is the opportunity to let the person know that their work has paid off and now it's up to you. That's how technology should work. But you have to have all those things dialed in to make it work that way.
Right. Then you go into this journey and creating these journeys for these different segments, but then you got to put some Kelly into it. Uh, and how are you building that out for these clients for this journey that like this thing actually has to be picked up and engaged inside these different segments or databases? Like, how do we encourage? I told my loan officers the other day, I said, look, I want you to write something down. Write down what is your biggest comfort zones and write down what terrifies you.
Mhm.
And it's amazing. Every loan officer is a little bit different, but sometimes actually picking up the phone and calling their database for some crazy reason is terrifying for some loan officers. And how do you engage this in for your clients to be able to say, okay, like this is the recipe for the perfect cocktail. And if you want it to taste great, this is how you make it.
That really goes back to what I was saying about automating the best intentions of the loan officer, and this is why.
Mm.
I spent 10 years studying loan officer behavior when it comes to technology. I had a front row seat. I didn't have to sell seats to Motivator, right? That wasn't the company I was running. I was running a company that was able to just view behavior, view what loan officers will and won't take, the bait on. And it can be really frustrating when when you're in a coaching, I've been a sales manager, I've been the marketing manager, I've been the tech manager. So it can be frustrating on all fronts when you go in and you say like, you're in sales, I'm feeding you a sale, I just need you to make this phone call. And they're like, I have some call trepidation. And you're like, wait, hold on a second. Like, I don't know the answer to that. I've tried scripting, I've tried doing a lot of different things, but I think what's going on right now, if I can speak to sort of 2024 loan officer behavior, it really is that it has worn on them. It is worn on the souls of the originator for the past couple of years, how much no they can actually ingest. And I think there's some PTSD when it comes to picking up the phone right now. And it's understandable between, calling the agents and then feeling like you can't get the agents on the phone or having to be turned down for whatever reason after working really hard to get a loan through the door. I think that's where there's a little bit of PTSD. And so what I've been telling everyone is like, look, A little bit, we got into a DeLorean. We went back, to the old days. We went back 8 years where we have to be going out, making the calls and going to open houses and going to network events. And we may feel as though we've, sort of graduated from the need to do that. And really, what we need to do now is make those connections at the exact right time, because a great conversation is exactly what sells a relationship and exactly what sells a loan. And if we want to live in a world where we say, like, well, AI is not coming to do any of this for us, then we have to step up exactly like that. The phone call becomes the most important part of the connection component between us and somebody who wants to buy a house.
That's really good. What what I think that one thing that helps us generate more business, I'm kind of going off to another piece,
Sure.
but I'm just so curious to see your point of view and from your experiences. How do you use the systems to do a better job of asking for the referral? As I find we're talking about two topics. Number one, connecting to our database through the journeys and through actually engaging, but then also using it as a opportunity to be able to get additional referrals and utilizing that sphere to be able to get these referrals. How can you help us through that journey to be, I find many loan officers find it almost difficult to be able to ask their customer for a referral.
So I marketed for a really long time for a company where we could not, I mean, we were competitive from a rate perspective. What we likely weren't ever going to be kind of the lowest one, the lowest rate. And so we always competed on service levels, right? And the one thing that we always sort of promised people was that this relationship is going to be one forever. That's going to be rewarding you for the long term, right? And so if you establish sort of a relationship with your database where you are committed to giving them value. So, like, whether that's, let's say you have a monthly newsletter, right? Well, if your monthly newsletter is very heavy in the I need a referral kind of vernacular, people are going to be turned off by that. When you plan your communication correctly and you're constantly being of value, then asking once every 2 months, in a really blast way, the right way for referrals is kind of what we like to do. So if you imagine that the message is, my dedication to you, is that I'm always looking out for your best interest for you to be able to use these equity strategies when available. Likely right now, you have several of your friends and family members and neighbors who are talking about cashing out the equity they have in their home and moving somewhere else. I just want to let you know I'm dedicated to giving them the same level of service that I gave to you. But what I'm asking for is just the introduction to that person, because I want to make sure they're making the right financial decisions and give them the service that I gave to you. So if you know someone, if you could just forward this email over to them and let them know, or put us on a group text, that'd be a great warm introduction. And so we're not, it's not like you're picking up the phone and going, "Hey, Bob, it's Kelly. I know I closed you last month, but I really need a referral from you." It's really the artful way in which we ask for things that are uncomfortable. But I think you have to establish sort of a cadenced relationship with them as well, where you are providing that value, and then give them the tools that they need to sell you. Right. Because if you
Hmm.
think about how a referral works, right? So if my neighbor wants to know, hey, I need someone to come clean my house, right? If I just go, yeah, well, Doris does my house. Well, that doesn't help, right? But if I put them on a group message and I'm like, hey, Doris, this is my neighbor. She'd like a house cleaner. Can you come give her estimate? That's a very different referral. And so if we teach people how to sell us, it's going to give them the tools that they need in order to make selling us easier. Then I think it's for referrals end up being easier.
Right. No, I totally agree. I'm curious. These are some great. I mean, I think I could just listen to you. This is awesome. I'm like really, really enjoying this. But I'm curious. You wrote a book. It came out in January. What inspired you first, before we get into the book? What inspired you to write a book? Is this your first book? And what inspired you to write this?
Uh, so it is my very first book, but I am a writer by trade. I've been a writer since I was in grade school. I actually thought I was going to be a writer when I grew
Wow.
up until I had a teacher's assistant in college who scared me to death about the death of the written word and all this kind of stuff because the internet was coming out. But I've always been a writer. I'm a prolific blogger. I've wrote every single word to every single campaign and every word of like the systems we've ever built. And it's because I understand sales and marketing at the same time. People who understand sales, tech, and marketing simultaneously, very rare breed of human, right? I think that
Yeah.
so not to get like
I'm
sad.
jealous, Kelly. I'm jealous. I
Look,
can't write. I can't write.
it was learning through fire. It was literally learning through fire. I never in a million years thought that I was going to own a CRM company that was going to be like crushing, really, period, just crushing. I didn't really imagine myself in that seat. It just sort of happened. And so as I was going through that journey as an outside LLC serving a large corporation, as I
Yeah.
have worked as a consultant for the last 3 years with a variety of different marketing people and different companies, the one thing I saw time and time and time again was this blase attitude toward the marketing department. And I always found that unbelievably ironic, considering that I was running a marketing and tech company that was dominating sales for the company. A very good marketing department right now, and I love loan officers, so please hear me say this, but give me the Pepsi challenge to 1,000 loan officers, and we'll see who brings in more loans. I have to be honest with you. The future is not, individual sales. The future is how do we create a pipeline for these people? The problem is you have loan officers who become branch managers, who become C-suite, who look at sales the way that they sold, right? So this is how we've always done it. Well, technology and marketing tells us this is a very new way of doing things. But getting that change to happen, getting a CEO to, I don't know, not email their marketing person for like a flyer suite. I know that there are so many marketers, so many talented CMOs out there who struggle to get people to understand that this is far more than a flyer machine. This is far more than we're going to give you a landing page or you're going to come in and we're going to get your business cards. A really good marketing department led by skilled people, they're telling the story of the brand. They are the cheerleaders and the advocates for the brand. They are creating social media that engages people. They're leading teams of marketing operations, which is an entirely new world for mortgage, but in every other industry completely exists because we need to make decisions for the budget based on actual reporting and numbers. Right. And so a lot of times the marketing department, it's like the first thing to go, right? When we're paring down or we're getting, we're scaling down. It's like, what do we need? What we need? Oh, we need marketing for everything. It is it is the lifeblood of any company, right? Because it's one thing to sell, right? Here's my product, buy my product. It's another thing to tell the world, we have this product. It's important for you. It's important to you. And we want to make sure that you have the story behind it. We want to make sure that we are serving every single person. We want to make sure that the reputation management that we have, because we're such a great company, is showcased everywhere that we go. We want to tell the story of individuals who came to us and maybe they weren't ready for 3 years, but our company was dedicated to working with them all 3 years. That person on video, that success story, that sells for us. But not a lot of people have the ability to take a big box of puzzle pieces, dump it on a table, and get everyone on the same page, putting that puzzle together. The C-suite can be one of the most complicated things to overcome for the marketing department, because thinking in a new way or based on numbers or reporting, that's typically more the CFO job, right? But if you think about marketing operations, and I can't say this enough, and I kind of harp on it a little bit in the book, which is, until such time as a mortgage company can tell us how much it costs to acquire a lead, what the cost of application is, what the literal cost of a closed loan is, and what the value of that loan is long term, then you really can't figure out any of the other process. How are you going to give me a budget for leads if I don't actually know how much a lead costs in the real world? And so we don't make decisions based on metrics a lot of times in mortgage. And I think that is really what I want to see happen more and more, so that people who are in marketing departments and technology departments, who work their tails off to make sure that the company has every advantage in the market, those people should be really respected and really well paid individuals who have a massive seat at the table with the C suite, not just like planning what kind of coffee we're going to have during the meeting, which is kind of what happens to marketing people.
So, a lot of the audience listening to this is a loan officer, maybe with a team of
Mhm.
3 or 4. Maybe they're a young loan officer getting started. They're on their own. They've got to start to really build this CRM. They've got to re-engage back with their database. Like my dad said to me, Kelly, one time, was like, "You're so frustrating," and I'm like, "Now what?" And he's like, "You never take care of all the customers that liked you, know you, and trust you. You always look for new." And I'm like, "You're right." So they're listening to you, and they're listening to all these things. What are they going to get out of the book? Because they're not a C-suite.
So what I would say is that the book itself is really designed to help mortgage companies be able to scale. It has a very specific audience. It's almost a love letter from one CMO to all CMOs, but also really for anyone in the C-suite to be like, "Holy crap, we've been misjudging this the whole time." With smaller groups and teams, some of the bigger hurdles that I see them have is that they're not all on the same page with the communication that exists within the CRM. And it's likely because no one built out that communication strategy for them. So let's say you've got 3 loan officers and 2 LOAs and a couple of processors. A lot of time, what you're doing is reaching over one another, because you may not have processes dialed in on your own team. And that hinders your ability to use a CRM effectively if you all want to be part of doing it. And so a tremendous amount of why CRMs fail is because, one, to be honest, CRMs in the mortgage industry aren't that amazing. I have to be honest with you. That, I have not seen one where I'm like, "Woo, this is it." And I try, believe me, Chris, I literally try. I've been looking for
Nothing's knocked your socks off.
3 years since I closed Motivator. I have been looking for a CRM to partner with that I could build out basically the logic, communication, and data that we used to have at Motivator. No, I wouldn't say anything's ever knocked my socks off. I see the potential in several.
Yeah.
I think that they can be built out, but I've never seen one where I'm like, "Oh my God, this solves for me for Motivator." And maybe that's because it was a proprietary system that we built. And I'm not being snobbish about it. It's just that when you build for the industry, because what we have in this industry that drives me nuts is we've got loan officers who think they're really good at marketing and technology, who start technology companies, or we have technology companies who go, "Oh, there's a ton of money over here. Let's go over here." And then they don't understand loans. And so I'm almost always dealing with a vendor who doesn't fall on one, like they don't fall in the middle. It's always one side or the other. And so you have really good CRMs that were built by mortgage people that just don't work as well as they should. And then I see brilliant things, especially from the current things that I see that people are bringing to the forefront. But these are engineers, and they think that a loan officer is going to do X, Y, Z. And that's one of the hardest parts is I try to bridge the consulting gap, because I say, What you're doing is brilliant. It's the future. It's absolutely wonderful. They're not going to listen to you. You have way too much on the screen. You have way too much going on. Yeah, it's great to be able to do everything, but my perfect system would be a blank screen with a button on it that says loan. And then the loan officer would just push it. And I would say, good morning, Chris. Today we have Kelly Yale. She did a loan with you 4 years ago and inexplicably is ready to refinance out of PMI. We understand that she has $30,000 worth of revolving debt, but she's got about $250,000 in equity in her home. Here's how to shore up this communication. Have a great call. And then they get done with
You
that.
want the CRM to talk to the LO.
I'm sorry?
You want the CRM to talk to the LO?
I want the CRM to manage the loan officer. I
Mhm.
want the loan officer to say, I know that this system is going to do exactly what I need it to do. And my job is to feed it data, make the calls and the things I'm supposed to do,
Yep.
and cash checks. Because otherwise, we're like, hey, guys, we got 20 different things you can use today. Which one do you want to sign into? None? Yeah, it's overwhelming. You can't ask people to constantly, we're shiny penny chasers. That's what we do, right? Oh, look, shiny penny. Let's go over there. Look at this new thing I got. I'm going to be this now. And you're like, okay. If we take the best technology that you can use and we introduce it at the correct time, if we are always saying to the people we're surrounded by, I am always going to give, and I'm always going to be thinking about ways we can do the business together in the future, and that's not your responsibility, it's mine. I'm a mortgage planner. My job is to look out for these situations in the future. It changes our approach to technology, right? So these small groups, the best thing they can do when they look inside of a CRM is ask their team, if we were going to have a process that worked for our team, what would it look like? What does client intake look like? Where is the handoff of the baton? What do we need to make sure that we get from the customer before we hand off the baton to the next person? And how do we make sure that all of our notes and all of our conversations are recorded for one another? So instead of having to cross over each other, we can open someone's file and say, yes, Kelly is ready for a refinance. She's going to refi out of PMI. We already sent this great email to her. She already scheduled a call through Calendly. When I get on the phone with her, look through the notes. Okay, here I see that she's actually looking to downsize. So I should probably have a conversation with her about what the next 3 to 5 years of her plan looks like. And that way you can update that. And then every person has somewhere they're going. So let's say I don't want to eliminate it out of my PMI, but I do want to downsize my house in August. What most loan officers do is they'll go, okay, go over to my Outlook calendar, last week of July, make sure I call Kelly. Absolutely not. What we want to start doing is talking about downsizing to Kelly. We want to spend the next 8-9 weeks talking about the advantages of downsizing and what they're going to have to do in order to get ready and what that is actually like emotionally. Because a lot of what we write about in these workflows is there's an emotional component to downsizing, just as there is when you get divorced and have to buy your house for the first time. Just exactly the same way that there is if you are jumping into your first home. There are emotional components. And if we are talking about that in an open and honest way, that's an amazing thing. Not to keep going on this, but I'll give you a good example of this. I call it white people, white smiles.
Okay.
All mortgage marketing, white people, white smiles. Take a look. So it's always like, it looks like a dentist's office, like all the headers are the same, right? And they're always holding the magic key and they're so excited and it's wonderful. Okay, Johnny Q loan officer. So here you go. You're talking to someone today who's getting divorced and you send them your canned enterprise level stuff that they have with a happy couple on the front porch with a key. Well, congratulations. You don't get my loan. Why? Because that's not me. Nor is it me if I'm a single woman who's been kicking butt and able to buy my own house by myself. You think I want to see some happy couple like watching their kids run around a yard? No, that doesn't reflect who I am.
Hmm.
If I'm a gay male couple and you're sending me happy people on the front porch with the smiles, again, you have to think about each individual lane and personalizing the messaging that goes out to that person. So if they're in the middle of a divorce, you can say to them, this is going to be a long process. And I'm here to work with your divorce attorney and your financial planner. And I'm here to support you over the next 6 to 9 months while you go through this. It's a very different message than, I'm so happy to talk to you today. Here's your happy people with their key. We have to stop being tone deaf in this industry and start thinking about how to personalize what we do per the segment of audience we have.
Yeah. I hope everybody picked up what you said. You don't just write that appointment down for the end of August. You start to build the journey right away. So many people lose customers for another referral or whatever, but if you had built that journey tied to them, the chances of you losing that client is very slim.
Yes.
And that was a big takeaway for me, to be able to think about. And there's multiple journeys. And I think that's what you did is build these journeys for these different situations. Am I right?
Oh, 1,000%. We've got probably 50 different journeys that we will personalize and curate for people depending on what their lines of business are. Some people exclusively like to work with builders. Well, how you speak to a customer going through the builder journey, incredibly different, right? And a lot of builders don't have their own great marketing. And so for a very long time, we were the kind of the component of being able to tell them like, hey, pretty soon they're gonna grade your property, and then they're going to put the footers in, and then we're going to go vertical, and then here's why a pre-drywall inspection is so important. And when you're when you go to the home, make sure you wear a construction hat because it can be dangerous. And it's simple stuff, but no builder's lender ever comes and swoops in and steals them because they have a $3,000 refrigerator they're going to offer them, because for months we've been talking to them about how to build a house, what it means to build a house, and how to understand that whole process.
Let's talk about gifting. What's
Yeah.
your thoughts on gifting?
I love gifting. I love automated gifting. People have a lot of different opinions on this, Chris, to be honest with you.
Oh, I know. That's why I asked.
I will say this. I will say that I don't like dumb gifting, but
Okay.
I 1,000% love great gifting. The way we personalize gifting is like during intake, if they have kids versus if they have pets.
Okay.
Or if they have both, right? So if you're doing their loan and they've got a kid and they've got a pet, right?
Mhm.
We're already talking to them in that marketing about ways that they can prepare their child for moving to a new house, as well as how they can prepare a pet for moving into the new house. That's already baked in.
Mhm.
And then we're going to send them like a little new dog tag as soon as we know what their contact of the address is. Send them a book about how to prepare their kids for a move, right? Send them cookies or send them some sort of treat right as they're going kind of through the packing situation. And then when they get to the end, hear me now for the rest of your life. If you're not sending a branded like Yeti or something like that, Yeti cup, you're crazy, because everyone will carry around a branded Yeti cup. But there is no one on the planet who's going to see your cutting board or your blanket or anything like that. Whereas this is literally something people will carry with them to and fro. So if you're doing gifting, I highly suggest one, automating it so that when you get that close, when you're clear to close, it goes directly to the vendor and the vendor knows who to send things out to. And then the second part is just think about what you would want, you would use, and spend your money really wisely when it comes to sending some branded gift.
Yeah, that's great. I love the dog tag. I love packing tape, branded as you. I love the Moving Day Bears
Yep.
book. But it's an age, you got to know the kids' age. You don't want to send that to a teenager.
Exactly.
Here's a book. Welcome. Get prepared for moving.
Yeah.
So as we wrap this up, what's next for Kelly?
It's so funny. Everyone's sort of been asking me what's next for Kelly. So, and not to be sad, not to take it to the sad place, but you'd asked about what made me write the book, why I ended up writing
Yeah.
the book. In 2023, my mother was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, and if you're
Mhm.
not familiar with Lewy body, it's pretty much a death sentence. And so I actually took care of her for the last year of her life. She passed away at the end of October of last year. It gave me the kind of break at the end of the year where I could pour sort of my heart into writing a book.
Mhm.
And all of 2024, I've been consulting, but I've also been trying to figure out what it is I want to do. Do I want to be the director of innovation for another large mortgage company where I can build them sort of the tech stack of the future? Do I want to build another platform for us where we're able to actually do sales enablement for salespeople? I'm not 100% sure. And I keep telling people I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I think everyone's tired of hearing me say it now. So I
Yeah.
may have to actually make a decision here in the not too distant future. But the thing I am definitely passionate about is showing loan officers that maybe you haven't encountered somebody like me before or systems like the ones I talk about before,
Mhm.
but there actually really are people who are building next level solutions. And that can take your business in a dramatically different direction because it should be the job of technology to make our jobs easier. And it should be the person who helms the technology to make sales a lot easier. So I think whatever I end up doing, I'm hoping I'm innovating something that is really going to help loan officers have career longevity over this next decade
Mhm.
and be able to take advantage of the hard work that they've done for years past in creating those relationships. And so I'm hoping somewhere in the middle of that, there's something that will really resonate with me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's just gonna open the door, and you're like, "Yep, that's it.
Yep.
That's perfect." Listen, it was fun to be able to get to know you. I'm gonna have to go read this book, so you guys check this out. Master Mortgage Marketing. I think we're gonna provide an Amazon link so you can go find it. There it is. And uh, Kelly, thank you so much. You taught me some things today and made me think about, man, I'm not very good at building these different journeys for our clients, and how can we go and build these journeys to be better. um, I don't think we're doing a good enough job in the industry on that. And I hope everybody listens to this today and are encouraged to go do something. If they want to connect with you, if they want to learn more about your company, where do they go?
They can go to octostrategies.com, but you can also just kind of come find me. I'm connected to just about everybody on LinkedIn. I am my own name because I was in social media for so long ago before everybody else was. So I'm at Kelly Yale on every single platform. So you can find me anywhere,
So
anywhere
you're
you want
easy to
is.
find.
Oh, I am. I'm a pretty easy find.
Good, good. Thank you, Kelly. Have a great, great day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris, for having me.
Bye.